I really, in many ways, I put words on their piece of paper and perhaps words in their mouths so that they can message their brand effectively and accurately and in an interesting way, right? So I think we one of the questions was, what is it that you do? So, I'm really a personal storyteller. We all have a story. I think that's what I have on my website is,
Right.
Everyone has a story. I'm here to help you tell it. So we all have a story. Some people have a knack at telling really long stories. So my job is to help make those stories much more concise
Oh, that's
and
interesting.
much more interesting so that people listen and they don't turn off this podcast.
Right. So, and you really can't do that. You really can't tell that story unless you get to know your clients really
Right.
well.
Absolutely.
I'm going to say, I think some of that's personality. You've got to have a personality that I want you around.
Yeah.
I've got to want to spend time with you. And so in the PR space, is it important that you build a relationship with your client in a way that you become almost like an extension of them, like family, if you will? Maybe family's too much, but is that an important part of being successful?
Yeah, definitely. And I think in any business you have, or when you are an entrepreneur or business owner, developing that trust
Mm-hmm.
with your clients and that credibility, which again, that's what really PR is all about. So
Right.
that's why a lot of my clients come to me, because they're looking for credibility, authenticity in those stories that they tell. And we were going to talk about what is PR. And if you want to, that's a really open-ended question. PR is different for different organizations. It means it plays a different part. It plays a different role in your business, depending on what your business is, your industry, obviously what your marketing PR objectives are. But for the most part, PR really helps with that credibility
It does.
factor.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
absolutely. All right. So PR is really, and you and I were talking about this earlier, it's part of marketing.
Right.
It's an extension of the marketing team. It's one of the spokes to marketing. And I think it's important to see that, but you're not marketing, right? You're not doing ad placement. You're not buying ads or pay-per-click. Your effort is something totally different. I'd love for you to kind of distinguish the difference between PR and traditional marketing.
Sure. So the best way to explain it is PR really is earned media, if you will, versus, let's say, advertising. So advertising you pay for.
Right.
So the great thing about advertising is that it's a sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's guaranteed. You paid for that space, you paid for that billboard, you paid for that TV commercial. But we don't all have budgets. It's, because there's a price tag to that. So
Yeah.
to that guarantee, that sure thing.
Mm-hmm.
We don't all have those budgets. I happen to, and I know a lot of the listeners and watchers are small business owners. A lot of small business owners, including myself, we don't have huge budgets. When I say, one of the first questions, of course, a lot of business owners ask their potential clients is, "What do you have a budget? What's your budget?"
Absolutely.
My clients never have budgets, right? But that's okay. I still love them. They never have a budget.
But wait a minute. Yeah. I mean, you say they don't have a budget, but they are certainly savvy enough to know they're putting money into hiring you to help them grow that credibility side of their marketing mix.
Absolutely.
So they just haven't put that budget number in the circle yet, right?
Right. So that's the difference, is that advertising you pay for, it's guaranteed. In PR, you earn it. So it's my job and other PR professionals, it's our job to figure out how to convince editors, publishers, reporters that the story that our clients have is relevant.
Right.
It's newsworthy.
And me opening up my donut shop doesn't always mean that's newsworthy. And it's newsworthy to me because my donut shop took a lot of work, right?
Right.
But it takes a little more than who cares?
So if I were your PR person right now,
yes,
and you wanted me to get you on TV tomorrow
over my donuts,
on your donuts, because you have this donuts. And they're really good donuts.
Yeah.
And never mind that there's a lot of other donut shops in town, but that's okay.
Let's not talk me out of my donut love.
So to make that maybe more relevant or more newsworthy, I would say, how about putting a scoop of ice cream on top of your donut?
Oh.
Because why? Because it's really hot outside.
I like that.
What's a nice cool treat on a day that feels like it's 107 degrees?
I bet there are a lot of journalists trying to find a story on it's hot out, right? You
Right.
just want to
Yeah.
say it's hot. So if I
Right.
can find ways, hey, here's way you can cool off. I like that.
I was talking to my PR friend yesterday, in fact, when this heat wave, I guess, started. Did it start yesterday? It feels like it's been hot every day.
That does feel like it.
I think we peaked yesterday. So we were just fantasizing about these ideal PR clients that we wish we had right now, like an air conditioning company,
Right.
a water park,
You know,
an ice cream shop.
right. So I know
Easy pitches to media.
I know an AC company, by the way.
Yeah,
We have to
good.
talk about
Yes,
that.
we should.
Well, I think this is really interesting because PR is extremely valuable. And it's one of the reasons I have a lot of people reach out to us to be a guest on our show, just because it's part of that marketing mix. And when you, frankly, I think when you're in that PR space, there's multiple legs to PR, right? So there's podcasting, there are news gathering organizations, there's even business publications that will publish, hey, this business just opened up. So there are kind of all those things out there. But the challenge is how do you develop that content? What do you do when someone comes in, okay, I need a PR person. How do you tease that apart? And maybe you have an example.
Yep. So what I do initially again or ask a lot of questions.
Okay.
So people usually come to me and say, "Well, I need a PR person," or somebody will refer me a piece of business. They need a PR person. So my first question is always, what are you doing currently? What marketing initiatives have you
Wait a
done?
minute. So you're going to ask, okay, where are you on the marketing?
Right.
So
Have
are you doing
done any
social?
PR? Have you written a press release, for example? Do you have any articles? Have you been featured in any media?
Interesting.
Right? Have you bought any advertising? That type of thing. What tools do you have to support if there's a sales team? So trying to just get at what they're already currently doing. And that helps to start the conversation about what is PR for your organization specifically to complement and support your marketing sales objectives. And then having a conversation about how PR can help you. And maybe PR can't help you right now, but maybe PR can help you further down your marketing spectrum journey. The one good thing I will say, and I represent a lot of small business owners,
right?
A lot of women-owned businesses. That's
Good.
kind of my niche. Although I don't discriminate. PR is actually, I do have some clients who've done pretty much zero. Like they haven't done anything. Like they've launched a Facebook page.
Yeah, I was going to ask you.
They do a little bit of social media.
Okay.
They may not even have a website. But they have successful businesses, meaning they're making money. There's money in the bank. So that's good. But PR is one of the things in your marketing mix that if you haven't done anything yet, it's a really good place to start.
Okay, I think this is a good point. And I was going to ask you, do you find that most of your clients are, they've checked all the other boxes and PR is last, or is PR the first box they're checking? You are saying that this is probably a good place to start.
If you've really done nothing or very little, it's a great place to start.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
All right. So you focus on small women businesses, it sounds like, is your niche.
It's my niche, yes.
And when you start working with these small women businesses, women-owned businesses, probably the right way to say that, where do you typically find is the best place for them to start? So for those women-owned businesses in the group, what are those kind of like? Here's one of the areas that they should look at first, if you will.
In terms of like a tactic?
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's get granular.
So we'll get granular. So something that I do that I stole from some famous marketing person out there, I forgot his name at the moment, is called an onlyness statement. So we go through this, and it's a branding.
You said
onlyness,
like ONLY.
Right.
Onlyness. Okay.
Yep. Rhymes with loneliness. Onlyness. Yes. So really, what it comes down to get granular with my client and their brand is to understand what makes you the only. Right? Because again, you're a donut shop, but you're not the only donut shop.
Right.
Right.
Yeah, but I'm the only donut shop that puts ice cream on my donuts.
Absolutely. So that's really one of the very first things that I love to start with my clients. And it's tangible. It's a tactic. So they understand it. It's not this esoteric marketing PR strategy that I don't even understand. Right.
Right.
And again, I'm talking to small business owners.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it's a great place to start. And it's a really good foundation. It's an internal statement. So it's really like it's basically the who, what, when, why, and where of who you
All the
are.
W's. Sure.
All the W's, but what is more specifically, uniquely, all those W's?
And
What can
that's,
you own
yeah.
out of, all the other donut shops that the other donut shops don't have?
So not everybody can do that. That's not easy. So you're going to help them with that. And I think that's hugely valuable. I think it's really interesting in marketing. One of the things that you have to do is go upstream as far as you can to figure out what the motivation is at why
Right.
somebody would buy a donut, right?
Right.
Well, I buy donuts because I like to go to the donut store with my wife, and we sit and have coffee and we have a conversation, and it's really about bonding with my wife, right? So there's my motivation. We have to figure those things out as owners, and you're going to help figure those things out. What is it that you are the only, like, you have a cute little table over here that
Right.
people could sit down and have donuts, and
And they
they
might be the
connect.
only donut shop in that specific neighborhood, or the
Okay.
only donut shop near a university, or, so there's a lot of onlys out there that are not so, in your face.
Right.
And that's what PR people do. We help you spin everything.
I love that.
So,
Well, so for the record, you're doing such a great job, because I have screwed up so many things over here on my side of the table. I didn't hit the
I'm
live
trying
button
not to be
faster enough.
distracted.
Yeah, this is good. And I've got a note over on Mike's. Thank God Mike's here. We've got a few folks that I want to say hello here. So I'm going to read this to you on the screen. Amanda Walker is watching, and she shared. And she is an artist, by the way. I do know Amanda. People are craving authenticity.
Absolutely.
So it's important that, I think that's a really important thing to remember to highlight. And Deborah Schwartz Griffin says, "Go Nancy."
Oh, hi, Deborah.
So go Nancy. That's a great way that's a good supporter right there. So one of the things I think would be interesting, and you and I, again, we talked about this earlier. There are three things that are really important to you and in the PR side. And you said this is something you like to do. What are those three things that you are the most important to your organization? So what are your three most important points for your service?
So yeah, I don't know if they're the most important. So the three things that I like to cover in this sort of conversation style, let's just say my first meeting with a potential client, and even a client.
Sure.
Is, again, that question, what are you doing
Got
your marketing mix? Because marketing is more general, and it's an umbrella that PR somehow finds a space in.
Right.
But people tend to understand marketing more than they do PR. So I ask them that question, what are you doing currently? And then try to emphasize that PR is definitely an important part of that mix if you're not doing it already. And then number two is, once we start having that PR conversation, I start to explain why PR is important.
Right.
And it's definitely about that authenticity and that credibility. It really helps with that, because it's earned. We've earned that content that you have out there that gets published eventually, that gets promoted on this podcast, that's on the front page of the paper, that's on a radio program or a TV show. That's earned content. So we've worked really hard together to get that story out there. We didn't pay for it. It's not a guarantee.
So it's because of things that the business has done that gets them the opportunity to get that credible content. You shared a story with me earlier today about a salon,
a beauty school.
And I'd love for you to share that with our audience, because I think that that's a really good example of the type of work you do.
So this is a really recent project, and I'm going to name it. It's the Elaine Sterling Institute, which is this amazing beauty school that's grown over the years. And I was called in to help them produce an open house.
Okay.
So they opened up a salon space. What's unique, and we did an onlyness statement. So one of their unique characteristics is that they are not only a 39,000 square foot campus that teaches a very comprehensive curriculum within the beauty industry. So hair, makeup, massage.
So this is not a small spot.
This is not a small.
Okay.
But they started very small.
Yeah.
So I was asked to help them with the open house with this new space. So they opened up a 12,000 square foot salon space. But what I was getting at, what's unique about the school, not only are they this amazing school, but they also operate a full service spa and salon.
Oh, so that on the premises.
Right.
So it's a working
right.
learning center,
So
so to
yeah,
speak.
the why is so that their students get real hands-on experience.
That's cool.
Right. So I was asked to do the open house. So that's event planning, and I have an event planning background, and also to do the PR specifically about the opening of the new space.
Okay.
Right. So all good.
Yeah. Sounds exciting.
good,
I mean,
right.
great. How is that newsworthy?
Right. Exactly. So,
Yeah.
I don't really say that to my client right up front. That's not a good conversation
right.
starter. But she knows she's been around and she gets it. And her story she has an amazing story. Her story has been told. It's been in the media. She's been in the AJC. She's been in all the magazines. So as we started further down the path of planning her event, I asked her purposely, because I was really looking for some more meat on those bones so that I could continue to tell her story.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of the next chapter of her story, because it's already been told. And again, the opening of this new salon, it is beautiful. It took a year. It took a lot of blood, sweat, and tears through COVID. All of that stuff happened, right? But that's kind of an old story. People have told that story so many times now.
I mean, honestly, here's the thing, and this is where you're challenged, is the owner knows my story is interesting, but it may not be interesting to the world at large, but it is still interesting.
Right. It is very interesting. So so during the planning process, I asked her if she had a sort of a charity of choice or a cause that she'd like to support.
Okay.
And she didn't necessarily, although she is very altruistic, she's very involved in her community, but she didn't really have one singular one. And I said, well, as her PR person,
wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
I said, well, it might be something you want to start to think about it, and even long term. Now you have this beautiful campus.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably time, and you're 15 years into this, right? So it's probably time to do that. So she said, great, go find me one.
Love that.
So we did. And we landed on the Arts Bridge Foundation.
The Arts Bridge Foundation. Okay. Who are they? Because I've not heard
yes,
of them.
I know. They are a nonprofit, and they fund statewide programming for kids K through 12 statewide.
Wow.
To enrich their experiences and programming in performing arts.
Oh, wow.
So it's all about the performing arts. So they bring performing arts theater to the schools and bring the students on field trips to theaters.
Interesting.
Statewide.
Wow.
So that's what we picked. And one of the reasons.
So hold on.
Yeah.
Why?
What does that have to do with the beauty school?
No. This is good. Why? How did you go from, okay, we got to find someone, and you landed there?
I know.
There's something that teased that out. What was it?
It took a long time, because I will tell you, Elaine said, go find me one. I think the next week we brought her a list, and she's like, none of them really. I mean, they're all good. They're all worthy.
Yeah.
There was nothing wrong with them, but it just wasn't. And I agreed with her. I just said, yeah, I know. I just thought I'd just share them and see what your response was.
Sometimes that's important, though, right? You got to put options in front of these owners, because they don't know what they don't know.
Right.
They have something in mind, but they only know that doesn't work. Go find something that does.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
So speaking of trust and those conversations you have with your clients and sort of that bonding period. So her school is on the ground level of Lenox Square in Buckhead. Okay. So one day we were leaving our meeting, and we literally walked through the parking deck at Lenox Square, and she was telling me a little bit about her life. We were going to go check out some roadside signage to make sure people knew where the school was, because Lenox Square is large,
a little busy.
It's a little busy.
Yeah, a lot of things.
So during that walk and that conversation, she mentioned to me that she studied theater.
Oh.
Which I never knew, because one of the things that's in her onlyness statement is that she is a student of, she's a beauty school graduate herself. Okay. She's from South Africa. Okay. But in addition to studying cosmetology, she also studied theater.
Wow.
And that's where I made the connection. And I just happened to know about ArtsBridge. And I thought, this is it.
Great.
This might be it.
So you reach out to them. She likes it. What did you do?
Fast forward. Yeah. So we made the connection. She agreed to it. We made it a part of the announcement of the opening. Okay. So ArtsBridge representatives were there.
Oh, nice.
For the ribbon cutting. But of course, since it's a beauty school, we don't just do ribbon cuttings, we do hair cuttings. So
Right.
we did a theatrical hair cutting performance
Oh, cool.
as an ode to Elaine and her
Yes.
theater and her students. So the other thing Elaine has told me is that what they really do every day at that school is theater. She also said that to me.
Oh, okay.
So it all really just worked out. It added to the story. We definitely got the media's interest with this partnership.
So did you find that, was there like an A/B testing? Okay, we want to talk about this new opening, and all the media was like, yawn, and then you came back with this story, and they said, we want that.
So yes, yes, yes,
Wow.
yes, and no. So
Yeah.
so we got through the opening, which was June 4th. We did not, for example, she didn't come to me specifically and say, I want a story in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, but she absolutely deserves a story in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution.
Sure.
And they've written about her in the school before, but so, and I got literally a thank you, but no thank you. And
Yep.
went through. I send it to the educator, and there's nothing. I love the AJC.
Yeah.
I get it delivered on my front door every day. But just no from education reporters to feature reporters to
Just wasn't fine.
Right.
Yeah.
So because of this partnership, we decided to create another media event after the opening, because again, the
Okay.
opening really isn't front
Right.
page news. So we luckily. There are 2 state finalists that this is something Artsbridge does. Every year they have a competition and they name a leading actress and a leading actor in a High School Musical performance.
Okay.
So they just named them coincidentally, and we did get lucky on this, the
Yep.
timing. They're leaving for New York next week
Wow.
for a national. So they are the state finalists representing Georgia,
Cool.
going to perform on a Broadway theater in New
Yep.
York City next
Wow.
week. So they stopped by the school this week and we did a whole students helping students. So the students of Elaine Sterling helped these students who are about to be on the national stage, right? To get them show ready.
Wow.
So we did a whole story, and there's an article in the AJC today.
It's there. Oh, that is awesome.
So
Well,
we made it happen.
That
But
is
yeah.
real cool. And we are out of time. So I love that story. We got that. We
We
able
got
to
it
squeeze
in.
it
We
in.
got
Yes,
it
yes,
in.
this is good. Where can people find more information about you?
So I do have a website. It's taocomms.com.
TAOCOMMS.com. So those for you on the podcast, you can find that. If you're watching the video, it's right there on the screen. Nancy, thanks for being here with
You're
us
so
today.
welcome, Mark.
I so appreciate
was fun.
you. So folks, we got to wrap up the show because we're way over time here. Thanks for joining us here on How's Your ePresence. This show is produced by ePresence, which we are a social media company, and you can find our address at epresence.me. That's epresence.me because it's all about you, and we manage personal, company, social media. We also offer consulting and training, and by being a listener, a viewer of our show here, you can go right there to the link on the screen, e-pr.me/listener, and you can take advantage of a 5% discount on all of our services. How's Your ePresence is everywhere. We broadcast live each month here at Business Radio X on the third Thursday at 3, and you can listen to any of our shows 24/7 by going to businessradiox.com and selecting the Gwinnett Studio. You can also find us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Facebook. Wherever you go on those spaces, please hit subscribe so you know when we go live. That's that. Okay, good. Our in-house producer is Mackenzie Munzer. She's on vacation. We miss her, as you can see from the show today. Our Business Radio X podcast crew is Mike Salmon and his protege, Connor Salmon, and newly inducted into the group, Jacob Woods. Thank you, gentlemen, for all of your help. Until next time, for my guest, Nancy Tao, I'm Mark Galvin, and this has been How's Your ePresence?